It's time to review the US Grand Prix now with Chief Race Engineer Andrew Shovlin. What a race! It's brought things closer together in the Drivers' Championship, but let's go right back to before the race and talk about qualifying and your strategy for Q2.
Well, it was an interesting one because it's another race where you can start on the super soft or we could have started on the soft. And going into the weekend, we were pretty open-minded. The soft gives you a bit more coverage. If you have a bad start, for instance, you need to run longer. Also, if you're in traffic, you can push it a bit harder. It doesn't have as much degradation. And we were hoping we would have a bit of a car advantage. So even if Red Bull were on the super soft, we could keep up with them on the soft tyre. But as we went through the weekend, more and more we were sort of leaning towards the soft. And that was really the plan going into qualifying. And that was the main reason we went straight out on the soft tyre. The situation we didn't want was really our cars on the super soft and Red Bull both on the soft tyre. So that was why if we run straight away, they can see what we do. We were pretty certain they would at least have one car on an opposite strategy, and we just let them do their own thing.
Let's look at the start of the race now. Nico losing a place off the line. How much did that affect his first stint?
Well, it changes it completely. He'd gone into that race wanting to have a battle with Lewis, fighting for the win. Suddenly he's in P3. Ricciardo's in the way, and the priority is get back to P2 as a minimum, and then he can look at the situation, can he actually attack Lewis later in the race? So we were focused on that, but being on the soft tyre, it gave us some opportunity. The drivers were briefed before the race, don't attack if you slip back in the first few laps, because the soft tyre doesn't have the performance of the super soft for the opening laps. But if Ricciardo stays out long, then we knew that the tyre delta would be enough that he could really start to attack him. So that was the plan for Nico, and he was looking after his tyres, staying as close as he can, but really we weren't going to get by, and then Ricciardo stopped on lap 8, which wasn't late enough to get that tyre delta, but it does put him on the early side.
In the middle stint, we saw Lewis taking the soft tyre and Nico on the medium. What was your reason behind that choice?
We got into the race and there were two strategies that were really on the table. One was the soft medium, which would have been the quickest race. You have to run two different types of tyre, so that would cover that off. But we also had an advantage over Red Bull here because we had two medium tyres. So we were able to do a soft medium, which isn't as quick, but what it does do is it affords you some flexibility on where you position those stops. You're not taking any of the tyres to life, and it allows you to react to what's going on. So Lewis, it was pretty straightforward. He was having the race that we planned, so we stuck with that soft medium, the quick race. With Nico, we wanted to get ourselves offset. We didn't have the car pace to overtake Ricciardo on track. In Austin, you need about 0.7 of a second, and we were maybe 0.3, 0.4 quicker than them. So we had to create some difference on the tyre strategy. And that was why that medium tyre allowed Nico to attack him later in the stint. So you could see that he was closing up as that stint went on.
Towards the end of the middle stint, Nico closing down on Ricciardo. What was the plan there?
Well, we were quite specific about where we wanted to get close to him, because when we were coming up to that region, you could just about get to the end on a medium tyre. So around 30 laps is pretty much taking it to limit. And we knew that if we could get Nico to close up, either he passes him on track, which is great, we've got the position, or we can force him in, because Ricciardo is then at risk from the undercut. So once Nico got to within a second, he's putting Ricciardo under pressure. They have to come in to cover it, but it's much earlier than they would have wanted, and it's putting them on very asymmetric strategy. And again, it's about creating that difference in the tyre life that allows us to attack them if we can't pass on track.
The race featured one virtual safety car. How much did that play into your hands?
Well, I mean, it was ideal for us, and you could see with Red Bull, they were probably telling Verstappen to actually try and get the car back, because once Ricciardo had stopped, the gap that you need to make a pit stop under a virtual safety car is much smaller. So if they had one in that window where Nico was still out on track, he would just jump way ahead of Ricciardo. So they were vulnerable, and I think that was why they were trying to get that car back with Max. They stayed out driving very slow. So actually that meant it was a very straightforward race for Nico. Had it not been though, we would have just gone long, probably around lap 36 or something, gone for the soft tyre, and that should have also given us the opportunity to pass him on track.
Shav, thanks very much for talking us through the US Grand Prix. Onwards now to Mexico.
Yep, thank you very much.